Greta and the Whispering Woods. In a cozy, red-roofed house at the edge of Germany's Great Black Forest lived a little girl named Greta. More than dolls or games, Greta loved the forest. She loved the smell of pine needles after the rain and the soft, mossy ground beneath her feet. "It's just a bunch of trees," her older brother Hans would often say with a shrug. What's so special about it? But Greta felt it in her heart. The forest was special. It held a secret, a quiet magic that hummed just beneath the sound of the wind. One afternoon, while resting against the trunk of a wise old oak, Greta heard something new. It wasn't a bird song or the buzz of a bee. It was a soft, rustling whisper, like secrets being passed from one leaf to another. She closed her eyes, and the whisper became a voice. The old oak was telling her stories. It spoke of a family of red squirrels that lived in its highest branches, and of the shy fawn that napped in the ferns nearby each afternoon. Greta raced home, her heart thumping with joy. "Hans, you won't believe it. The trees can talk. The old oak told me where the squirrels keep their nuts." Hans just laughed. "You have too much imagination, Greta. Trees don't talk." The next day, Hans followed her. He stood under the same oak tree and listened. "I don't hear anything," he said, kicking at a root. "It's just quiet and boring." He couldn't hear the whispers because his heart wasn't listening for them. But when Greta stood in his place, the whispers swirled around her. The tall pines hummed about the shapes of the clouds, and the slender birches giggled about the ladybugs crawling on their leaves. The whole forest was alive with stories. "Why can I hear you and he can't?" Greta whispered to the old oak. The leaves rustled with a gentle, deep sigh. "The forest only shares its secrets," the tree whispered back, with a heart that is kind enough to listen. Greta understood. She was always gentle in the woods. She stepped carefully over new flowers and left acorns for the squirrels. Her heart was open to the forest's magic, so the forest opened its heart to her. From that day on, Greta became the keeper of the forest's secrets. She knew which streams sang the happiest songs and where the moonflowers bloomed, and every night she fell asleep to the gentle, magical whispers of her beloved, enchanted woods. Julian and the Unexpected Race. Julian loved to be fast. Faster than a buzzing bee, faster than his dog chasing a ball, and definitely faster than anyone else in a race. His room wasn't decorated with posters of cars or superheroes. It was decorated with winners' medals and bright blue ribbons. Today was the annual town picnic, and Julian had his eyes on the grand prize for the great picnic race, a giant, shiny golden trophy. At the park, Julian stretched his legs and practiced his starting sprint. He watched the other kids. They were all laughing and chasing butterflies. One boy, with curly hair that bounced when he moved, was trying to see how many times he could roll down the grassy hill. "He's not even warming up," Julian thought, shaking his head. "He won't be any competition." "Racers, to your marks," boomed the mayor's voice. At the finish line, the golden trophy gleamed in the sun. It was even bigger and shinier up close. Julian crouched down, his eyes locked on the path ahead. Next to him, the curly-haired boy, whose name was Leo, gave him a friendly smile. "Good luck. Isn't this exciting?" he whispered. Julian just nodded, his face all business. Bang! The race started, and Julian was off like a rocket. His legs pumped, and the wind whistled in his ears. He didn't look at the cheering crowd or the colorful picnic blankets. He only looked at the finish line. After a moment, he dared to peek over his shoulder. He was way ahead. The trophy was practically his. The race path curved towards the duck pond, where a little wooden bridge crossed a bubbling stream. The bridge was old and wobbly, and it made a funny boing-boing sound with every step. Julian ran across it as fast as he could, barely noticing the silly sound. But then, Julian heard something besides the cheers of the crowd. He heard loud, happy laughter. He glanced back again. It was Leo. He wasn't running across the bridge. He was jumping on it. Bowing, bowing, bowing. Leo was laughing so hard he had to hold his tummy. He wasn't trying to catch up at all. Julian stopped. The finish line was so close. He could see the trophy waiting for him. But the sound of Leo's laughter was like a happy song. He looked at the shiny gold prize, then back at the bouncy, giggling boy on the bridge. He had never once stopped to laugh during a race. A smile slowly spread across Julian's face. He turned around and ran back to the bridge. "Hey, wait for me," he shouted. He started jumping right next to Leo. Bowing, wobble, bowing. The two boys bounced and giggled, making the silliest sounds they could. Soon, the other racers caught up, but when they saw Julian and Leo having so much fun, they forgot all about the finish line. One by one, they climbed onto the bridge, and soon it was filled with a whole crowd of bouncing, laughing children. It wasn't a race anymore, it was a party. Eventually, holding hands, Julian and Leo walked across the finish line together, long after everyone else. The big golden trophy was gone, given to the first person who had run past the bridge party. But Julian didn't mind. He had a new friend and a tummy sore from laughing. He realized that day that winning was fun, but sharing a laugh was the best prize of all. Isabella and the Melody of the Heart. In a cozy little house lived a girl named Isabella. More than toys or games, Isabella loved stories and songs. In the corner of her living room sat an old piano, a gift from her grandma. It was made of dark, polished wood, but its keys were silent and covered in a soft blanket of dust. One evening, just before bed, Isabella tiptoed to the piano. She sat on the bench and pressed a single key, plonk. The sound was lonely and dull. She tried to play a song she knew, but her fingers felt clumsy and the notes didn't sound right at all. With a little sigh, she leaned forward, disappointed. Feeling sleepy, Isabella rested her head on the cool piano keys. She closed her eyes and thought about her day. She pictured the bright yellow of the sun, felt the warmth of her mother's hug, and remembered the sweet taste of a juicy red strawberry she'd had for a snack. Suddenly, a soft note floated through the air, then another and another. It wasn't the song she had tried to play. This was a gentle, flowing melody she had never heard before. Isabella lifted her head in surprise. Her fingers weren't even touching the piano. Isabella sat up straight, her heart filled with excitement. She thought about how she felt when she giggled and the piano played a bouncy, cheerful tune. She thought about her fluffy cat chasing a string and the music became playful and quick. The piano was playing her feelings. Then she remembered tripping and scraping her knee at the park. A little wave of sadness washed over her. As it did, the piano's music slowed down, becoming soft and gentle, like a comforting lullaby that understood her hurt. Isabella realized the piano didn't need her to read music from a book. It wanted the music that was already inside her. Closing her eyes, she thought about all the love in her heart, for her mom and dad, for her grandma, and for her best friend. The most beautiful melody of all filled the room. It was a symphony of warmth and happiness that swirled around her like a cozy blanket. The music wrapped the whole room in a feeling of safety and love. Drawn by the lovely sound, Isabella's mom peeked into the room. She saw her daughter sitting at the piano, her face glowing, bathed in the magical light of the music. "What a beautiful song," her mom whispered with a loving smile. Later, tucked snugly in her bed, the melody of her heart still played softly in Isabella's mind. She knew she could always create music, not just with her fingers, but with her feelings. And that night, she drifted off to sleep, dreaming the most wonderful, musical dreams. Andrew and the Magic Juice. Andrew was a boy who loved to play with race cars and build tall towers, but he did not love fruits and vegetables. "Time for a snack, Andrew," his mom called one afternoon. Andrew hoped for cookies, but his mom had something else in mind. On the kitchen table was a tall glass filled with a strange, bubbly purple juice. It swirled with colors like a galaxy. "What's that?" Andrew asked, wrinkling his nose. "It's a special power juice," his mom said with a wink. "Just for you." Andrew took a tiny sip, Wow, it didn't taste like vegetables at all. It tasted like sweet blueberries and yummy grapes all mixed together. He liked it. He drank the whole glass down to the very last drop. Back in his room, Andrew saw his favorite red race car on the very top of his bookshelf. It was too high to reach. He stretched out his arm and wished he could just grab it. Zoop! His arm stretched all the way to the shelf like a rubber band. Andrew giggled. It was the juice. He had stretchy powers. He spent the rest of the afternoon having fun, stretching to turn on his light switch and grabbing his teddy bear from across the room without ever leaving his spot. The next day, his mom gave him a bright orange juice. It fizzed and tasted like sunshine and sweet oranges. After he finished it, he went outside to play. His bouncy ball rolled into the yard next door. Andrew took a running start to go get it. Whoosh! He was suddenly a blur of motion. He ran faster than he ever had before, grabbing his ball and returning to his porch in the blink of an eye. Now he had super speed. The next snack time brought a glass of green juice that tasted like crisp apples and kiwi. When Andrew went to the park, he discovered a new power. He could understand the squirrels. They chattered to him about where the tastiest acorns were buried. Andrew realized that each different juice gave him a new, amazing power. Purple made him stretchy, orange made him fast, and green let him talk to animals. He couldn't wait to see what tomorrow's juice would bring. Andrew wasn't a picky eater anymore. He loved his mom's magic juices. Tucked in bed that night, he dreamed of all the colors of the rainbow and all the incredible adventures that were waiting for him with every new sip. Samuel and the Secret Backpack. Samuel was a boy with a secret. It wasn't a big secret, just a backpack-sized one. To everyone else, his blue backpack was for school books and snacks. But at night, when the moon was bright, it was a doorway to adventure. He quietly unzipped the main pocket. Instead of his math homework, a soft, swirling starlight spilled out, painting his room in shades of midnight blue and silver. It was time. A tiny, shimmering creature made of stardust floated out. It had big, curious eyes and wings that hummed a gentle tune. "Hello, Samuel," whispered the creature. "Ready to explore?" This was Glimmer, the keeper of the backpack's secrets. Samuel nodded eagerly. Glimmer zipped around his head, and with a soft pop, Samuel felt himself shrinking. He became small enough to climb right into the backpack, stepping from his bedroom floor into a world of wonder. He landed softly in the whispering woods. The trees had leaves that glowed with soft light, and if you listened closely, you could hear them whispering stories of ancient kings and sleepy dragons. Glimmer zipped ahead, leading Samuel through the woods to a sparkling cave. "These are the crystal caves," Glimmer chirped. "Every crystal holds a forgotten dream." Samuel reached out and touched a bright blue crystal. Instantly, he felt as light as a feather. He imagined soaring through the sky, and for a wonderful moment, he felt like he was flying right there in the cave. Next, they followed a gentle sound to the river of melodies. The water wasn't wet, it was made of liquid music. It chimed and hummed as it flowed over smooth, colorful stones, playing the world's most beautiful lullaby. The river's lullaby made Samuel's eyelids feel heavy. "It's almost morning in your world," Glimmer said softly. "Time to go home." Samuel felt sleepy, but his heart was full of the night's magic. With another soft pop, Samuel was back in his room, tucked safely in his bed. His blue backpack sat on the floor, looking perfectly ordinary again. He closed his eyes, the river's lullaby still in his ears, and drifted off to sleep, dreaming of his next adventure. Mariana and the Enchanted Park. Mariana loved the park. She loved the tall slide, the swishy swings, and the big old oak tree in the middle. But tonight, as she was getting tucked into bed, she heard a sound. It was like a tiny, happy song floating through her window, coming right from the park. Tiptoe, tiptoe, down the stairs and out the door. Mariana followed the sweet music under the starry sky. The park gate, usually locked at night, was wide open, and a soft, colorful light glowed from inside. The music was coming from the merry-go-round. It spun slowly, not with a motor, but with magic. The painted horses' tails swished and their little hooves tapped in time to the music. One of the horses, who glowed with a gentle golden light, winked at her. "Hello, Mariana," it neighed softly. "I'm Sparklehoof. Would you like a ride?" Mariana giggled and climbed onto Sparklehoof's warm, glowing back. As soon as she was settled, the merry-go-round began to rise. Up, up, up they went, lifting right off the ground and soaring into the big, dark, starry sky. From way up high, Mariana could see her whole town sleeping, but the park was wide awake. The swings were swinging all by themselves, reaching higher and higher, as if trying to tickle the stars. And the big slide had turned into a sparkling, giggling rainbow waterfall. Sparklehoof landed gently next to the sandbox, but it wasn't a sandbox anymore. It was a desert made of sparkling sugar. Tiny, friendly gingerbread people waved at her as they built crumbly, sweet castles. A deep, kind voice rumbled, "Welcome, little one." It was the big oak tree. His branches were hung with glowing, laughing lanterns, and his bark had a wise, friendly face. "I am Old Man Willow," he said. "Sit for a while." Old Man Willow told her a story, not with words, but with his leaves. They rustled and danced, and the light from the lanterns made moving pictures on the ground. Mariana watched the story of a sleepy little bear who followed a firefly to find the coziest cloud to sleep on. A soft pink light touched the edge of the sky. "It's almost morning," whispered Sparklehoof, trotting over to her. The park must go to sleep now. Mariana felt a little sad, but she was also very sleepy. She gave Old Man Willow a hug on his trunk. Sparklehoof gave her a quick, gentle ride right back to her bedroom window. She slipped into her bed just as the sun said hello. As she closed her eyes, Mariana smiled. She knew the park would be waiting for her, ready for another magical adventure, another night. Emiliano and the Chocolate Factory. Emiliano was a boy who loved chocolate more than anything. One night, a golden ticket, smelling sweetly of cocoa, fluttered through his open window and landed right on his pillow. It read, "You are invited to a midnight tour of the fantastical chocolate factory." Emiliano quietly slipped out of his house, following the delicious chocolatey smell. Down the street, a building he'd never seen before stood tall. It was shaped like a giant cocoa bean, with glowing candy cane pillars and a big, swirling lollipop sign. The door swung open, and a man with a fluffy white mustache and a chocolate bar print vest greeted him. "Welcome, Emiliano," he boomed. "I am Senor Cacao. I've been expecting you. Are you ready to see the magic?" Senor Cacao led him inside. The first thing Emiliano saw was a wide, flowing river of creamy milk chocolate. Gummy bear boats bobbed along, and marshmallow cattails grew on the banks. "This is our chocolate river," said Senor Cacao. "It powers the whole factory." Next, they entered a room filled with giant, colorful gumball machines. When a gumball rolled out, it didn't just taste sweet, it told a funny joke. Emiliano caught one, and it whispered, "Why did the cookie go to the doctor?" "Because it felt crummy." Emiliano giggled. In the next room, long strips of taffy were being stretched by tiny, buzzing candy bees. Once a piece was ready, it would grow little candy wings and fly around the room. "This is our flying taffy," explained Senor Cacao. "It tastes like clouds and sunshine." One little piece of taffy got stuck in a big caramel puddle. Emiliano carefully reached in and helped it get free. The taffy buzzed happily and did a loop-the-loop around his head before flying off to join its friends. Finally, Senor Cacao led him to a garden where lollipops grew like flowers. "These are very special," he whispered. "They are wish-granting lollipops, but you only get one wish, so choose wisely." The lollipops swirled with all the colors of the rainbow. Emiliano thought hard. He could wish for all the toys in the world, but then he thought about how much fun he was having. He picked a bright yellow lollipop and whispered, "I wish I could share this magic with all my friends." The lollipop glowed brightly. The next morning, Emiliano woke up in his own bed. Was it all a dream? Then he saw it. On his nightstand was a box filled with giggling gumballs, flying taffy, and one rainbow-swirled lollipop. He smiled, knowing his adventure was real, and now he had a magical secret to share. Pablo and the Cardboard Rocket. Pablo found the perfect thing for an adventure. A big, empty cardboard box. It wasn't just a box to Pablo. It was a spaceship, ready to explore the stars. "Time for liftoff," he whispered to his teddy bear, Captain Cuddles. With a crayon, Pablo drew dials, buttons, and a big red lever. He put on his colander helmet and started the countdown, his voice full of excitement. 10, 9, 8. Captain Cuddles sat beside him, ready for the journey. 3, 2, 1. Blast off. The cardboard rocket rumbled and shook, or at least Pablo pretended it did. The bedroom floor tilted, the walls swirled, and soon his bed looked like a fluffy white cloud far below. The rocket soared past the ceiling light, which was now the bright, shining sun. Dust bunnies under the bed became swirling, sparkling galaxies. Pablo steered his ship through a universe made of imagination. Their first stop was the moon, which looked surprisingly like a big paper lantern hanging from the ceiling. "Look, Captain Cuddles," Pablo exclaimed, "moon landing." He giggled as he pretended to land the rocket gently on a lampshade crater. Suddenly, a shooting star with a tail of shimmering yarn zipped past their window. "It's a comet," Pablo shouted. He steered the rocket to fly alongside it, racing through the cosmos. Next, they discovered the planet of pillows, a soft, squishy world made of all the cushions from the living room sofa. Pablo carefully landed his rocket on the fluffiest peak. It was the softest landing in the history of space travel. A strange creature appeared from behind a pillow mountain. It had floppy sock ears and a wagging tail. It was the family dog Sparky. In space, he was a friendly alien who only wanted to lick the astronaut's face. A big yawn escaped from Pablo. Space travel was tiring. "Time to go home, Captain Cuddles," he said softly. He turned the rocket around and flew back through the yarn comets and dust bunny galaxies, heading for the fluffy white cloud of his bed. The rocket landed safely back in his room. Pablo climbed out, took off his colander helmet, and tucked himself and Captain Cuddles into bed. As he closed his eyes, he dreamed of his next adventure in the amazing cardboard rocket. Laura's Family Day. Laura sighed. It was Family Day, but all she wanted to do was play the new game on her tablet. "Just one more level, Mom?" she asked, her eyes glued to the bright, flashing screen. Her little brother, Leo, tugged on her sleeve, but Laura didn't notice. Mom smiled and gently took the tablet. "Not today, sweetie. Today, we're making a different kind of magic. No screens, just us." Dad came in, carrying a big, fluffy blanket. "That's right. We're building the best fort in the whole wide world." Laura pouted. "A fort? That sounded boring." But Leo's eyes lit up. He grabbed a pillow and giggled. "A fort, a fort," he chanted, running in circles with the big pillow. Dad draped the blanket over 2 chairs, and Mom helped the children crawl inside the cozy space. It was dark and snug. "We need a secret password," Dad whispered from outside the fort's flap. Laura giggled. "The password is, 'I love my family,'" she whispered back. Inside the fort, Mom turned on a flashlight, and the ceiling of their blanket fort twinkled like a sky full of stars. Next, they all went to the kitchen. Flour dusted their noses as they mixed cookie dough. Laura forgot all about her game as she rolled the sticky dough into funny shapes with her dad. Leo made a lopsided star, and Mom made a perfect heart. They laughed as they decorated the cookies with colorful sprinkles, making a happy, delicious mess together. While the cookies baked, filling the house with a warm, sweet smell, the family snuggled on the sofa. Dad opened a book and began to read. He used a deep voice for the giant and a squeaky voice for the mouse. Laura leaned her head on her mom's shoulder, listening to the story. She felt warm and safe. This was much better than any game. This was real magic. That night, tucked into bed, Laura thought about her day, the fort, the cookies, the story. She hugged her teddy bear tight. The best gift, she realized, wasn't a new game level. It was a day spent with the people she loved most. Daniela and the Wish Upon a Star. Daniela loved the stars more than anything. Every night, she would gaze out her window at the velvet sky, dreaming of swirling galaxies and sparkling planets. "I wish I could be an astronaut and dance among the stars," she'd whisper to her teddy bear, Major Tom. One night, a brilliant streak of light zipped across the sky. A shooting star. Daniela squeezed her eyes shut and made the biggest wish she could imagine. I wish with all my might to be an astronaut and fly through the night." The next morning, Daniela remembered her wish. The star hadn't magically left a spaceship in her backyard, but it had left her with a brilliant idea. Magic needs a little help, she decided. She ran to find her dad. "Dad, can we go to the library? I need to learn how to be an astronaut." At the library, Daniela and her mom found a whole section on space. They sat on a colorful rug and looked at pictures of giant rockets and astronauts floating in zero gravity. Daniela learned that astronauts had to be very smart and very strong. So Daniela began her training. She read every space book she could find. She did extra math problems to make her brain super strong. "This is harder than I thought," she puffed one afternoon. "But astronauts never give up." For the strong part, she built a rocket ship in her backyard from a big cardboard box. She and Major Tom would practice their important space missions, running and jumping around the yard to stay fit for space travel. One day at school, the teacher announced the annual science fair. The grand prize was a special visit to the Science Museum to see a real moon rock. Daniela knew this was her chance. "I'm going to build the solar system," she declared. It took a lot of work. She and her dad used styrofoam balls, paint, and lots of glitter. Her dad helped her hang the planets from a hanger so they could spin. Mars was perfectly red, and Saturn had beautiful, sparkly rings. On the day of the science fair, Daniela proudly stood by her project. She explained how the Earth orbits the Sun and how Jupiter is the biggest planet of all. The judges were so impressed with her hard work that they gave her the first prize ribbon. That night, tucked in bed, Daniela looked out at the stars. She wasn't an astronaut yet, but she had taken her very first step. The shooting star hadn't just given her a wish. It had shown her that with hard work and a big dream, she could make her own magic happen.